Hello there. You're watching and listening to another Scoutcast on www.fantasyfootballscout.co.uk. And my name is Mark.
My name is Jonty.
My name's Andy.
My name's Az.
My name is Matt.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yes, we've got a new face amongst us. Matt Kinney, otherwise known as Bowstring the Carp on Fantasy Football Scout. He's been around on Fantasy Football Scout for a long time. Matt, I mean, what is it now? Is it 7-8 years? It must be quite a while, isn't it, since you first posted on the site?
Yeah, about 7 years now, yeah. Long time.
And the reason why you're on, not just because you're a long-standing member of the community, but of course we're glory hunters here on the Scoutcast. And whenever someone starts doing well, we get them on and ruin their season, which has been the case for about the last 3 or 4 times we've had a person on. Yes, so hopefully that doesn't happen with you, because we're obviously supporting you and anyone else in the top echelons of the FBL ranks who are on in our community. But at the moment, you're flying the flag for us tonight. And you are, is it 22nd or 23rd now in the world, Matt?
Yeah, I think 23rd now. Surprisingly, a few red arrows over the last few weeks. Hasn't been as hopeful as it was planning on, but hopefully I can pick it up now over the double game week coming up.
But there's been a few red arrows for a lot of people around recently. It's been a very strange few game weeks, to be fair. I think the very best have suffered a little bit. Game week 33, of course, was the lowest average of the season so far. Not what we kind of expected, given that we've had game weeks with just 6 fixtures before now. But yeah, game week 33 was a tough one. We're going to look at that in full. We're going to go through our game weeks in a minute. But just a few more questions for you, Matt. In terms of what's gone well this season, why do you think it is different for you this season? What have you done right, or has it just been some of the players and teams that have shaped the season for you?
Yeah, I think it's a few different things. I think probably important to mention that I wasn't even planning on playing FPL this year. I was supposed to be taking a break.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not. And a few of the guys in a group I'm in convinced me to keep it going. So what could have been? Yeah, so I kind of took a casual approach this year, and just kind of wanted to step back, maybe not be too much stat focused and number orientated. And I don't really know if that's played a part in it, but it certainly helped, I think.
Not listening to Fantasy Scout.
Yeah, Jonty's about to log off because you more or less said studying stats, and obviously you mean apart from the goals imminent table, which is
of course,
the Bible
absolutely.
of how to do well in fantasy football.
Yes.
So yeah, you obviously you should have caveated that, but never mind. Yeah, I mean it's extraordinary to see you doing so well. It's incredible to hear that you were about to give up. Maybe that's a secret. Maybe we all need to throw the towel in and then change our minds at the last minute. So when did you select your team in pre-season? Did you leave it till the last minute, or did you was it a snap decision at the end, towards the end of the deadline?
No, I was fairly active throughout the pre-season, watching players as we do, kind of new players coming into teams, seeing what role the manager might want them to play in and things like that. And yeah, just as normal as I normally would, just maybe not too heavily involved as previous years.
Okay, so interesting. And have you watched less football, or have you watched more football? Is that had anything to do with it?
I think I've watched more football this year. Definitely the eye test more than numbers, but I mean that's not to disregard stats and stuff. I mean stats have their own place in the game, as any other factors do.
Absolutely. We're all for the eye test as well. Absolutely. Okay, so we'll go through our game weeks first of all. Sorry to remind you about yours, Matt, if you weren't too happy about it. But we're going to start. We're going to start at the bottom of this, which is yourself, Matt, with 29 points. So talk us through what went wrong there. I mean, effectively, I think you were one of many managers this week who basically had the Aubameyang captain, and that was about it, wasn't it?
Yeah. So I hadn't really planned on using my wildcard this week. It was only an accumulation of injuries that kind of forced me into it. Part of me wanted to be stubborn and continue with the team that I had and stick to the original plan that I had in place, but I think it was time to say enough was enough and hit the wildcard button and try and have a makeover on the team.
Yeah, I mean, you emailed me very late in the day on that. So were you thinking about it for 2 or 3 days before you just finally felt I've got to do it now?
Yeah, I kind of had a loose plan in place. I didn't get to see the first leg of the Champions League, so I was out that night. So I only got news of Salah's injury kind of late on. Yeah, so I think it was Friday night that I only decided to wildcard, so it was a fairly long night, needless to say.
How did your old team do? Did you check what you would have got if you just kept it?
I was afraid to check, to be honest.
Yes.
I have to admit.
Yeah, best not do that, but I will do that straight after the show and email you just to remind you. No, I mean it is. Yeah, I mean that was a tough decision. I know because I could tell from your email you were racked with kind of anxiety about it. But I mean, in the end, it was a game which many managers struggled. So I don't think you lost a bit of ground. You were 15th beforehand, but I think you can still recover from that. I mean, you had Jack Stevens as well, did you?
Yeah, I thought at one stage I was going to get him on. I get him off the bench, and Christensen did King ahead of him on the bench.
Right.
So that was maybe the only saving grace from this week.
Okay, well, we're going to talk about Salah sale in a moment, but we're going to go through the rest of the game weeks first. John, you're next on 30 points. So you beat the top-ranked manager in the Scoutcast here, but 30 points.
Yeah, I mean, I had a very similar week to Matt. Obviously, I'm 3,300 or so places behind him. But yes, basically Aubameyang, that was it. There we go, captain. Everyone else got me absolutely nothing, which is shocking, as we'll look at with Rough with the Smooth. Some of the roughs this week, you look at the team, you just go, what? It was just one of those weeks. I understand this was actually one of the lowest scoring averages for 4 seasons, not just this season.
Really?
I think there's lots of talk on Twitter. No one can find one within the last 2 or 3 seasons, definitely. I just want to add, Cedric, much maligned Cedric. Even I was almost giving up on him last week. And there it is. I got him for the occasional assist potential. And there he is. He's out a season's worth of assists in one match. 9 points sitting there, stuck on my bench right at the end. But yeah, as we'll reveal as well, it's exactly the same situation with him, because none of us, even Cedric owners, don't have faith in him. With the bench boost, though, he's gonna do it again. Hopefully,
I've got to say, John, he was outstanding.
I know. Game. Well, this is why I did get him in, because it's a stats thing. His stats were strong, and they always have been, but he never delivers. A bit like kind of Nathan Redmond or someone. Strong stats, never delivers. But I just thought, let's give him a go for a bench boost. It's cheap. So hopefully I can get something out of him.
The blow there is like Matt, he lost Jack Stevens, but Jack Stevens' suspension now could shaft you a bit, because it means they're not going to play free at the back, perhaps. No. So he was playing wing back. So that you don't know, they could still work. They could play Bertrand there, could bring McQueen if he
was good in the cup game though, in the FA Cup, Cedric. So that was one of the reasons I got him in as well. Just that I just thought, you never know, but. Obviously, I am aware that it's just Cedric. I'm not pretending he's Messi. No,
absolutely. Okay, next up on the list is Andy with 38. Not bad. You held your transfer as well. Aubameyang captain, but you had Jamie Vardy, of course. And you spoke about this, not getting rid of Jamie Vardy, and I guess you're pleased about that now, Andy.
Yeah, like I said, he's not really doing too much wrong. I think maybe been a bit lucky over the last couple of weeks, the way the goals have come. But like I say, for that price, he's keeping up. So I don't really have a good reason to get rid of him still. Other than that, not a lot going on. I made the brilliant decision to play Ryan over De Gea, so an extra 1 point there. And the one I'm most frustrated about is having a defensive Mustafi, Alonso and Vertonghen and getting nothing. And obviously Willian, who I spoke about quite a lot last week, came so close so many times to getting points and just didn't deliver. He had such a good game. And as I was laughing there, he obviously won the battle last week, but that was frustrating. When that last match came on, the game week, the scores that week were so low, I thought he was going to be the one to really boost the Green Arrow. And I got Green Arrow anyway, but could have been much better if Willian had hit the target at least once.
I mean, Willian had 5 shots and created 6 chances. Incredible display, but no end product, which actually, I'm sure as we'll say now, is pretty common with Willian. As you got before you stick the boot in, you got 40 points, but yeah, feel free to stick the knife in Willian as well as you describe your game week.
Yeah, I actually had quite a decent game week. I mean, I didn't really get many points in places, but Aubameyang captain and Vardy, and I got rid of Salah. I think, I mean, I was going to get rid of Salah for Eriksen or Ali. I'll talk a bit about it when we come on to it later. But to me, it made complete sense to do that with Tottenham playing Stoke. And with Salah almost certainly missing out. I know there was a lot of value to be lost, but it's points over value at this stage of the season. And with 3 extra games that the Tottenham mids had, I just couldn't not do it. So I'm just a bit annoyed I went for Ali over Eriksen, was just to save a bit of money. And with Ali's form, and he got a bonus point, which is very unlike him. So it's quite nice. So the way I'm looking at it is he's got 4 points now over Salah, because I could have kept the transfer and I would have got Andy King in. But yeah, I'm happy Liverpool have got through tonight. I think I'm reasonably confident. I think Salah's going to miss another game between now and the end of the season, when I think a lot of people own him. I've got the free hit if I want to bring him back. So yeah, I'm quite pleased. And
Right,
it's
well, we're definitely going to talk about Salah in a bit of
Yeah.
detail after the rough with the smooth.
And Willian didn't score. So
No.
what else is there to say? I mean, watching that game, oh my god, I was so sure he was going to get a big haul. But yeah, he did pass the eye test, I have to say.
Oh yeah, I mean,
I guess we're
him
saying.
and Hazard are Chelsea, but like I said it before, Hazard has taken a back seat and letting Willian have all the shots. It's very strange. Hazard's playing very well, but he's playing the Modric role almost. He's not providing a goal threat direct himself, and it's all about a little bit about Morata, mainly about Willian.
On the back of that, I just don't think you can justify Hazard over Willian. I think you just get Willian and stick with that.
Yeah, it's difficult. And with Sanchez about, he's not even the optimum differential, is he, if you're going to go for a heavy hitter right now in midfield. So my game week, and the reason why I didn't sell Salah, and it obviously was tempting, was I really fancied Austin to get me something off the bench. So I thought, well, I'll have Austin first sub. And I actually like that because like John T said in previous weeks when he wanted to play Ashley Barnes, you kind of had these feelings like, I wish I could play that first sub, but I can't really justify it over my 11. And I felt the same about Austin, which is why I was like, actually, I'll take Salah on the chin and think about it. And he delivered it unbelievably. Came on 60 seconds. When the cross came in, I was like, that's got to be Austin on the end of it. And as he was wearing it, I was going, is it him? Yeah, of course it is. It was inevitable. It was just crazy. Always scores against Arsenal. And he did. And of course, Arnie delivered me assist as well, which is handy. And, you know, he's going to be another player that I keep, another single game week player. But I think if you're selecting two players with single game weeks, it'd be Salah and Arnautovic. So I'm going to keep them both and hope to God that they're going to be differentials for me. Though on paper it could be. We'll see. I mean, it's a good fixture, but then after that he's got lousy ones. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with him. So with those two chipping in, I had the Aubameyang captain. I've got 42, which is not a massive score, but in the relative to what happened this week, that was a decent one. And I got another green arrow. So creeping up, it's been a decent. After about 7 red arrows, I've had 3 in a row now for greens and making decent progress. I'm quite happy. But we'll see. It can all go wrong with the next 2 game weeks, which will probably be with 37 as well, 2 of the biggest game weeks of our season now, 34 and the free hit in 35 for many of us. Okay, let's do rougher than smooth, John T. What have we got out there in the community? Any big stories there?
Well, I was trying to. It was quite hard to try and find some smooths actually, because it seemed everyone had awful, but there were some stories out there. So Ahmed's a Karim, he had Cedric and Smalling off the bench, so he had them benched, and Salah and Christensen didn't play, so he actually got those points in, which is great. Say my name. He got 50 points. Aspilicueta owner, 11 points there, nice. And Salah Arrivederci. He took Salah out, so it really was Salah Arrivederci there. Firmino and Matty James. Not sure what he was doing there, but anyway. But those 3 came out for Ericsson, Wood, and Ali for -8. So he ended up with a net of 54. So that's great because he also had Sanchez. Lanley Storrell, another community regular, 55 points there. Vardy captain, so he took a gamble then. That was a good one that paid off. And he also had Ericsson and Aspilicueta. But pretty much it was rough for everyone else really. But I picked out 2 or 3 kind of tough ones here. So Lugs, he took a -8 to get in Kane. Saw Kane, thought that's it, I'm on him. Captained him. So he went through all of those emotions of Kane scores, Kane hasn't scored, you know, lobbying of the match of the day people, like it came off my badge on my daughter's life. He went through all of that, and then as it got worse, then Stevens -2 came off his bench because Monreal didn't play. So just awful. Piper Maru sold Sanchez, decided he had enough of Sanchez with all those double game weeks and form. Didn't fancy another double-digit score. He got Van Dijk, got rid of Van Dijk as well. Didn't fancy that clean sheet to get Kane in. Okay, I've just got 2 more. Olivier Giroud's hair, he got 16 points in total after taking a hit to remove Vardy for Kane. A lot of these are just the clamour to get Kane in. Yeah. A bit too early. He fell from 20,000 to 40,000. He says, what an FPL nightmare. And just a final one here, Justin Brown, total points 17. He wildcarded in Game Week 32. I look at his team. It's perfect. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's full of lovely Leicester players like Mahrez, lots and lots of Spurs, Lukaku, 17 points, nothing. Yeah, and he got Stevens off the bench.
Just a tough game week. I mean, and the thing is, the Kane situation is totally understandable. I can see, I can totally see it. I obviously thought about a hit for Kane as well. I think many of us did. obviously, Matt, you played the wild card for Kane. I was fearful of Spurs that spoke. I thought it could be a rout. They won 4-0 the last 2 seasons there, so I got Son in, which perhaps was a kind of a knee jerk just to cover Spurs, because I really did fear it. And as it was, Son looked more dangerous and should have scored. Matt, I mean, obviously, one of the reasons you hoped the wild card would come in for you was getting Kane for 33, which would have been somewhat of a differential around you, I imagine. Although a lot of top rank managers did go to Kane early on. What did you make of his performance? And are you worried about him for the double game now, or are you going to go straight to him for the captaincy?
I actually missed his performance. I didn't get to see that game, but from what I gathered, he didn't really look 100%. Yeah, I mean, only coming back from injury, it's hard to know. I mean, I brought him in on wildcard just because of the sheer amount of people that were going to have him. It's a frightening thing, as we'll probably talk about with Salah, going without a player of that caliber. But yeah, I brought him in because I knew I'd probably want him for the double game week anyway. And like I said in the last Born in Question article, anyone on a wild card for game 33, it would make sense to bring him in. He could rise. You might be priced out by 0.1, as we see so often. So yeah, I put him in, and I put Son in as well. And yeah, it was just disappointing all around.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's a lot of controversy about the goal, and they're still debating it, I believe, now. I mean, the Spurs have put an appeal in. No one can really say for sure whether there was a touch, it seems, but obviously Match of the Day have analysed it, and lots of others have as well. It's not going to affect FBL. They're not going to suddenly add the goal, even if the decision is reversed, because the game week is finished now. But the performance from Kane was a bit worrying as well. I mean, I'm still getting him in. We'll talk about our transfers later on. But he is this kind of player who does look a bit sluggish after coming back from an injury. And that seems a bit of worry. I mean, how did you feel about Kane's performance? I mean, to me, I hope that he recovers quickly for the City and Brighton games, because we need a big score for him there.
Yeah, I mean, I was very close to bringing him in. I've been doing the hokey cokey with strikers all season. I was going to take Lukaku out for him and then bring Lukaku back. And in the end, I just thought, no, it's not worth it. But it is a concern, and I'm wondering if having Eriksen and Ali is enough. I don't like the use of the word cover, but I'm not massively into Tottenham's 2 games this week. Like with Brighton away, they're conceding quite a few goals, but we're relatively strong at home. And then City at home, you wouldn't be surprised if Kane blanked in that. So I'm looking at those 2 games. I'm not expecting a mega haul. I don't think I'm going to captain him.
Really?
Well, he hasn't. Well, I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to bring him in, to be honest. But even if I did bring him in, I'm not sure I'd captain him. I mean, he obviously has the potential to go crazy, but he didn't sell himself to me in the game against Stoke, who are, probably the worst team in the league. And I'm looking at Lukaku and his 2 fixtures, and I just can't see past. I think if you get Lukaku or Sanchez in, I think they have to be the ones that you go for.
Okay, well, this links to questions in the community, doesn't it, John? Because we've got one specifically on double game week heavy hitters, and it addresses Kane in particular. I mean, for me, I'm getting him in. I'm certain I'm doing that, but there are a few factors behind that. But Lukaku and Sanchez are definitely in the mix, aren't they, Jonty?
Yeah, so I mean, when I put a plea out for questions, this was the hot topic, really. People want to know who to captain, which of these heavy hitters to get in, because people like the look of Sanchez recently. They like Kane. They like Lukaku because of the fixtures, but they can't get all 3 in. And if they get all 3 in, then they're probably making a sacrifice or 2 too many. So, Jack Croissant asks if only one, Kane or Lukaku, for the double game week. Felix asked for our thoughts on Sanchez. Very expensive, but could be a great differential. Alex Ball, is Sanchez in and handed the captaincy over Lukaku a good move, especially for those who are free hitting? So these are people who can completely revamp their side just for this 1 week, but they can only play that 11. They're not bench boosting. And Tom Rendell asks, he thinks that this is the biggest question, really, especially for those that have been planning like we have, bench boost 34, free hit 35. Do we do the Aubameyang to Lukaku, or is Kane suddenly the better option? And who's the vital one? So that's what we've got. We've got these 3 great players. Can't afford them all. Which ones do we go for? Okay,
well, let's go to Andy first and get your views on this. Firstly, Andy, where are you with this situation? You've banked your transfer, presumably, to address this issue up front, have you?
Yeah, so I've got Aubameyang and Vardy. So I basically said I can get both Kane and Lukaku in, but I'm not going to. It'll take an 8-point hit. I don't really want to take out the players I have to take out. So it's one or the other for me. It's so tough. Like Man City conceding like what is it now? 8 goals in the last 3 games is a bit of a worry now. But them losing against Man United, that means they're now up for that game. Whereas before, maybe once the league was over, perhaps they start resting players, bringing in fringe players. Whereas now, you'd expect them to play their first team. So straight away, I've always been worried about that fixture with Kane for the Man City game. Yes, I know they're leaky, but it is a tough game for them still. But then it's Brighton. So the other thing with Kane is that I expect a lot of people are thinking about, myself included, is it saves a transfer down the line, because there's no way I'm going game week 36 to 38 without him. He's my triple captain in game week 37. He's the one I've got it lined up for at least. Maybe if I think Aguero is going to start both games, then it's a different story. I'd have to think about that. But I'm just thinking it's a transfer saved. But I just can't stop looking past those 2 Man United fixtures. It doesn't really get much better. The only way I could say it would get better if Bournemouth was at home, not away. But they like to concede goals. So right now, I'm still getting Lukaku in because I would have to probably take a hit to get Kane anyway. So I'm just going to take that hit in 36 instead. So it doesn't matter when I do it, really. But I'm watching that double game week without Kane I've never done that before. And I don't know how much football I'll watch that weekend, to be honest.
Okay, well, let's go to Matt next. Now, you obviously wildcarded. So how are you feeling about the big hitters going into game week 34? And are you making further changes with your transfers?
Yeah, so when I was making my wildcard team, I left 0.9 specifically in the bank to change Aubameyang to Lukaku. I already own Kane, so like I said already, it's more of an insurance kind of cover. I like Andy said, Man City is a pretty tough game. City, they could potentially win the league against Spurs if they beat them. I don't see Kane maybe getting 2 or 3 in that game, but it is Harry Kane. We could be proven wrong. And then their second game away to Brighton is a few days before their semi-final against Man United. So there's a lot of question marks there. I'm not so certain I'll captain Kane, but I certainly want to have him, just like I said previously, for the sheer amount of people that are going to have him. But for me, I'd definitely be in the Lukaku boat. I think Lukaku is definitely more essential, if we can use the word. Definitely coming into the double game week anyway.
Interesting. This must be the flat track bully theory. Is that what it is? Where do you stand on it?
Yeah, well, as I said a second ago, I just think that, as Andy said, like those 2 games, you're against bottom of the league. Lukaku loves playing teams like that, and then you're playing Bournemouth, who've got nothing really to play for. They're pretty safe. I think if Lukaku's playing a team who's got something to play for, even one of the lower teams, even if it was like Stoke or Southampton, I think that would be a worse fixture than these 2 games. I think they're absolutely perfect for him to get big hauls, and Sanchez as well. So to me, it's a bit of a no-brainer. The one thing with Kane, though, is that in 36, so if we're assuming most people are going to play the free hit in 35, in 36, if you've got Aubameyang or Lukaku, they're playing each other. It's United v Arsenal, so you're not expecting massive points there. Whereas Kane will have Watford at home, so you can kind of justify getting him in if you look at it a bit more long term than that, just to get those. So I think Kane and Lukaku would be the ideal front 2. For the next couple of weeks. And Aubameyang's away this week against Newcastle, who have got some form. So I think a 4-point hit to get rid of Aubameyang for Kane might not be so ridiculous, but I wouldn't captain him, not with United's fixtures. So
okay, well, Jonty, you're another manager with both. You've got a sweet spot, really. You can make the decision. Are you being swayed towards Lukaku as well? Is that your feeling?
What, as captain?
Yeah.
It changes hourly, and it will change throughout this Scoutcast. It will change overnight. I'll wake up and it'll be someone different, and so on. I think they're both great options. First of all, I think that Kane is a great option this week. I think one of Lukaku and Sanchez is, I think, take your pick of those 2, but I think it should be Kane in the other one. I think that's the key, I think, there. And one of the reasons is a lot of people saw the Stoke game and they might be put off because he didn't do well. Well, he was out. He's been out. He's had a minor injury before early in the season. He had 2 games back cameos. So he's had a cameo and a Stoke appearance back. Well, what happened in the next 4 games? Well, he scored 4 goals because that's Harry Kane. If you look at the underlying stats, 18 goal attempts in his last 6 matches. That's very good. He's also scored 2 goals and 1 assist in his last 6 matches that he's played. He's actually only started. He's actually only played really 4 to a cameos. Really, he got injured in 1 and a few minutes in the other ones. So I've no problem with Kane at all. Lukaku and Sanchez is a tricky one. So I've got Lukaku already, and I've got Kane. So I've got so I'm tied to Lukaku. I think Lukaku's another great option. I think Manchester United attack in general is a great option as well, because if you look at who they're playing against Bournemouth and West Brom. So if you look in terms of defending, last 4 matches, goal attempts conceded amongst the bottom sides, you guessed it, West Brom and Bournemouth. They are going to concede, and they're going to concede to probably Lukaku and probably Sanchez. So, and then I look at Harry Kane. Well, Brighton are going to concede as well because they're absolutely awful in defence at the moment. But City, although we have seen them get hammered by Liverpool, if a team goes for them, I think they can concede. But they have only conceded 17 goal attempts in the last 4 matches. To put that in perspective, Stoke have conceded 72. 17 at the bottom there, 72. So that just shows how tight their defence actually has been, even though they have been conceding. So I think Kane's good for there as well. Another issue some people talk about, Fernandinho is out for Man City. So people start thinking, oh, Fernandinho's out. Brilliant. That's going to be great for Kane. Not so according to history. Fernandinho has been out before for 2 matches. During those 2 matches, Man City earned 2 clean sheets against Arsenal and Chelsea. So it's not exactly minnows there. So that would indicate that potentially the way they set up without Fernandinho, perhaps the rest of them defend a bit more, I don't know. But Fernandinho out is actually not great news for Kane there. Final point there, Sanchez. If I could do it all over again, I would probably have Sanchez over Lukaku. I've made my Lukaku bed and I'm lying in it. But with Sanchez has 3.4% ownership. He has, in the last 2 game weeks, had scores of 14 and 10. I think he's got such a broad point spread. He gets goals, he gets assists, he gets bonus points. He even gets clean sheet points. So if he gets 2 of them, so you can add all up, and he's just a really great double game week captaincy option. If I could do it all again, I'd have him. But I'm happy with Kane and Lukaku, and that decision will go on all week.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right with Sanchez. I think that my only concern with Sanchez is I think Lukaku's certain to play both games. Sanchez, I'm not convinced about. We're going to talk about rotation later. Matt, you mentioned that Spurs play before the semi-final, but they play on Tuesday. So they've got 4 days clear before their semi-final. United play on Wednesday, 1 day less. And I knowing Mourinho as we do, I think he's going to make a point of that. He's going to say, why have Spurs got 1 extra day when we've both got the semi-final? Because if you look at Chelsea and Southampton, they both play Thursday, absolutely fair and square. But if you look at Chelsea and look at United and Spurs have got an extra day. Now, I don't know why that is, TV, I guess, but I think Mourinho is going to do something with that. I think he's going to rest players in the Bournemouth game to make a point of the fact that he's got 24 hours less. It would be no surprise to me. Now, who will he rest? Not Lukaku, I don't think. So I don't think he's going to play Rashford up front. But Sanchez isn't absolutely... Everyone's saying, Sanchez is nailed. We've seen him on the bench already in recent game weeks. So I don't know whether Sanchez is absolutely nailed. I think he probably will start, but I think it's wrong to say he's going to play both games absolutely definitely. I think there's still going to be some question marks about that. So for that reason, even though I agree with Jonty that Sanchez probably has the higher ceiling, I think Lukaku is probably the better option of the 2 in terms of safety. But for me, it's the double figures, and it's the difference between Kane and Lukaku. And Lukaku, I back to score, absolutely. I think he will get at least 1 goal over the 2 games. But is he going to go mad? He might do, and the fixture suggests he should. But he hasn't done it this season, really. So that's my worry.
If you look at their history this season as well, so Lukaku's got a goal and assist against West Brom and Bournemouth combined. So you'd want him to get more than that. Kane's blanked both of these 2 times. He blanked against Brighton, and he in the reverse fixture that was at home, and he blanked against City as well. So that doesn't bode well. I mean, all of these are really small samples. They're little book points here and there, and this is what is going through people's heads when it comes to either getting in Kane on Lukaku or captaining him. And everyone, you can chip away at a bit, and even the Sanchez one, you said that one. Oh, perhaps he might be rested. Once again, it's just chipping away with that. But then the next day, people courting Sanchez will go, well, hang on a minute, look at all the points he can get. So you just have to assume that he's going to play. And
it's really a season where just anyone can get rested or rotated at any point. There's just I think Tottenham have the most settled team. They're not going to make many changes, and that makes them more attractive.
Yeah, I mean, if Mourinho wants to make a point, he'll rest his big guns. He'll be resting Lukaku, Matic, Valencia, and De Gea. But I don't think he will, because they want to get that second spot as well. They want to get as high as they can. They want to be, although they're going to be obviously runners up, but they want that second spot, and they might not get that. So he's going to go for it. It's an easy win, Bournemouth, you would think.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's not an argument for not resting players, though, is it?
Well, yeah, it should be, but then they could mess up as well, because the way the Premier League is anyone can beat anyone on a day. So as we've seen, let's say, for example, with Liverpool, well, I mean, I know it was a 0-0 against Everton as well, but we've seen it before with that rotation. I was talking on Twitter about it earlier today. People talking about Klopp's rotation. And remember 2 years ago, it was awful. They were coming out, they were sending out like God knows what out, 12-year-olds. And Swansea, remember that Swansea game in May? Swansea beat them 3-1, and Liverpool awful. They were tiny children out there. And so if Mourinho wants to send these tiny children out there, Bournemouth will have mints.
I don't think that. But I think of the three captain candidates, Lukaku, Kane, and Sanchez, there are two that are nailed on, and one that isn't quite so nailed on. And for me, that's Sanchez, because he's got options in those positions, whereas Lukaku and Kane, I just can't see it. I think they're absolutely certain starters in the two matches. And that's what you want from your captain. And I don't think we can say Sanchez is absolutely nailed on. But I do think if we could say 100% all three play both games, Sanchez will be the point scorer who will come out on top. But for me, personally, I'm just looking at a game. Even if I had Sanchez, that would be a little bit of a concern for me, because I think that he can be left on the bench for that game, because I think they can win it without him. And also, I think the semi-final's got to be a factor, and it's 3 days later, where Spurs get the extra day. So I think that could play into it. We'll see. I mean, it'd be very interesting to see how it pans out. I'm going to go with Kane, because I think it's the point that has made, as in, I'm not going to get both. I can't get both. I'm not going to take a hit or several hits to do it. So it's going to be Kane for me, because of the situation after game week 35, where we want him.
There is one more thing to say about Sanchez. His stats are actually really poor. When you watch him now, he's still doing what he does a lot. He loses the ball. He's trying to create. He's kind of turned into our creator. He doesn't need, because Lukaku's always there, 90-minute man. He doesn't need to get in the box. In the last 4 game weeks, he's only had 7 touches in the box, which is super low for midfielders. 2 goal attempts and 7 chances created. So he's kind of turned into the assister. So of course they're poor fixture. They're good fixtures, so maybe he'll get in more. But when you watch the games, he's out wide quite a lot, looking to cross the ball into Lukaku. So I do like him, and obviously his performance against Man City, suddenly I start considering him, and as a differential, it doesn't get much better. But I am coming back to Lukaku, I think, for me. And obviously with Kane, just like one point, I think you maybe touched on it earlier. Obviously, Granville not here. You mentioned last week about how big a thing the Golden Boot is. If you didn't believe it now, you should do now. Like, swearing on his daughter's life is just, it all seems a bit desperate to me, but it's made me rethink the not going him strategy, because that man wants that Golden Boot, and it's actually crazy how kind of this has escalated this week. So I can see where people are going, Kane, but for me, I'm going to go Lukaku, I think. And Sanchez is a bit of a worry, I think, because like you said, I think he's got more chance of being rested than Lukaku, and he has turned into more of a sister. So I don't know if the goals are going to come with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think as well that Sanchez is such a differential that we can afford to go without him. And it's going to be those teams who need to catch up ground that will go Sanchez. And I think that's a great move, because it's worth the gamble. But for the rest of us, it's a straight choice between Lukaku and Kane. And I've got no choice, really.
Triple captain as well, for anyone that's still got it. If you're looking to make up ground, you've still got the triple captaincy.
Yeah.
You don't want to play the bench boost, go for Sanchez, would be my...
Yeah, absolutely, in the 2 games, and hope that he plays them both and actually gets over the stats and gets goals. I agree. I looked at the stats and I'm not that impressed with what he's done. His goal attempts are down almost 50% over the last 4 game weeks based on the 4 before. It's very odd. And yet he was playing out wide more then. So I think something has changed. And the goals are coming elsewhere for United. Obviously, we saw Pogba crop up at the Etihad. Okay, let's talk about Salah a little bit now, because that's the other big dilemma we've had over the last couple of weeks. And we're coming to you first, Az, because you made the decision to sell him going into game week 33. What was your thinking behind that? Just purely getting Ali and getting a double game week player, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there was the thoughts is that we had the information. You know, I don't, that Anfield Express Twitter account, it seems almost too good to be true.
Yeah, what's going on with that?
Getting the lineup sort of a day before the games come out. But once that came through and it sort of confirmed Salah was out, I just thought, what are the downsides to losing him? Okay, I lose some value, but I'm getting 3 extra games from these Spurs mids. And they're in form, and they historically do well at the end of the season. Plus, I fully expected Liverpool to get through tonight. I mean, after that first half, that was in doubt a bit, because City were absolutely incredible. But in the second half, they just completely lost it. So I was, really happy to see Liverpool progress. And I just think there's going to be more rotation. There's going to be more rotation with Salah. Salah is just so stupidly important to Liverpool that Klopp is going to wrap him in cotton wool, and he's going to miss one of the next few games. And it's probably going to be the free hit week when I bring him back in, but it could easily, I wouldn't be surprised if his minutes are managed, throughout the rest of the season, if he's coming off at 67 minutes, especially if they're winning, quite comfortably. So that was my thinking. I struggled to decide out of Ali and Eriksen, and in the end, week 1, it looks like I've gone for the wrong one, but I'm still hopeful that Ali's gonna perform, but I'm not too worried about it. If Salah plays against Bournemouth, he could get some points, a lot of points, as he is. Jonty's going to go on about how he's the greatest FPL player in history, which of course he looks like he's going to be. But he's got less games, and so he's got less games to get me points. And at the moment, I'm favouring those with more games.
So you don't feel any differently about it after tonight either? That hasn't impacted on what's happened? I just thought
if I didn't sell him last week, I'm probably not going to sell him before he plays at home to Bournemouth. It was him being confirmed out that made me do it. And if I'd got Eriksen, I'd now be sort of 13, 14 points up. And so then Salah would need to match those points with 3 less games. So
yeah, absolutely.
Ali could easily have scored 15 points against Stoke. I mean, it was Stoke. It was just a perfect storm of fixtures and double game weeks and rotation and injuries that, to me, I just couldn't make a case of not doing it. It just seemed so sensible to lose him, and it could bite me. But at the moment, I'm feeling quite good.
Yeah, and I think for me it was either I had to do it when you did, or I wasn't going to do it at all. And I think the problem for me was that I already had a plan to get Kane in, and it didn't involve selling Salah, and I wasn't confident on making the same move, a swap for a player like Lingard and having loads of money in the bank and then going. It was just too complex for me, and I thought to myself, as I'm happy with my first sub, I'll make do with that and then make my mind up after the
That was another thing, actually, because my first sub was Andy King, so I could have had Cedric. But having, if it had been Barnes or someone like that, then it might have been a bit more tempting just to have ridden it out. But yeah, with Andy King as my first sub, it was just another thing that made me want to do it.
Coming to you next, Matt. I mean, Salah's not in your wildcard team, so you made the decision to move him out as well, knowing that he was, having a good idea that he wasn't going to play. How are you feeling now, having watched the City game tonight and going into the Bournemouth game? First of all, do you think he's going to start against Bournemouth?
Yeah, it's tricky to say. But my decision to leave him out was basically, I think if I can survive through the Bournemouth game this weekend, I'm fairly happy enough with the decision. I think that's the fixture that he will probably haul in out of the remaining 5. If we look ahead, I mean, he's away to West Brom after this weekend, and I mean, I can get him back in on free hits similarly to Az, and then Liverpool's next Champions League game, it will be surrounding that Stoke game that they have at home. So I mean, we might expect reduced minutes there, or maybe more rotation, as we've seen in the past with Klopp. And I think another point to mention as well is Salah's fear factor. He's not going to be captained by as many this week with the double game week in mind. I mean, a lot of people are going to be on, like we've talked about, Sanchez, Lukaku, Kane. He's not going to do as much damage with so many people not captaining him. But I mean, that's not to say if he gets a brace, I mean, of course, it could kill your rank. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of tricky, isn't it? Because we know he can do damage in such a short space of time. We've seen him come off the bench at Stoke and get a couple of goals and a big score. So I don't think that, we can say in one start he's not going to do damage. But the captaincy is a very valid point. We knew straight away back in 33 that he wasn't going to get captain in 34 by many. He probably will end up being the top captain pick, but not amongst the top ranks, not amongst the active managers. So that is a factor certainly in his favour. I mean, Andy, what do you feel about it? I mean, are you still looking at getting rid, or is the fact he's played tonight and look totally fine change your mind on that?
Yeah, I'm happy to have him. Let's just say that. I think, I mean, generally in the double game week, there's always someone that pops up and says, X player is worth, X single game week player is worth captain. And I look at them like they're crazy. Like, why are you not captain the double game week player? But if someone said to me they were going to captain Salah this week, I wouldn't think they were crazy. I wouldn't do it myself, but that just makes me think I should keep him. I think obviously it all depends on your team. Like, I didn't get rid of him last week because Spurs were looking like the team to go for. That would have blocked Kane. So straight away, it wasn't a move for me. I'd consider him out for Sanchez maybe. But I do agree with what kind of Matt and Azza said. I think he will play this week. I don't have too many doubts he's going to play. But after that, I've got a free hit, so 35 is kind of irrelevant. 36 and 37 now, anyone's business. He's going to miss one of those games, I think.
And so maybe captain him in 37 anyway, because he's got Chelsea away.
He's got Chelsea away, exactly, yeah. So game week 38 is really the one that we're going to be looking at. And what if they're in the final? What if they draw Roma and they get to the final? You could miss that as well. So I don't think he's gonna miss like 2 or 3 games the remaining fixtures, because I think there's a part of it where he has to be kept fit. And I think he is a pretty fit guy. Like, generally, he's not someone that needs a lot of time to come back in after like these minor injuries. So I'm not too worried about him missing a lot of games, but he is going to miss one at least. And it's probably going to be in 36 and 37. And I'm thinking, but I'll just maybe get a Man City midfielder in instead. But for me, I think I'm going to keep him this week. But I think there is good reason possibly to get rid of him. The thing is, if you look at like getting Sanchez, and it's like someone said earlier, then they've got Arsenal in game week 36. So do I really want him then? There's not really a standout option that I really want to bring in, which is why I'm not taking him out yet. But I think I probably will after the free hit. Yeah,
I think for me the tactic was always going to be Mkhitaryan out as a get an enabler in and then get Kane in, and I had to get Son in for Mkhitaryan. I'm going to stick to the plan. I think it's going to be Son making way. Because I don't think he's going to play 2 games. And then I'll look to go back to Son for 36, I think, because, like you say, I don't think Salah will play the Stoke game. And Spurs have got a good fixture with Watford, and then they get a double, so getting Son back in for that makes absolute sense. And I think then we'll think about 38 later. Jonty, what are you feeling about Salah? Obviously, just as I am chairman of the Harry Kane fan club, you're up for election for the Salah fan club?
Yeah,
chairman,
love him. It's brilliant. Yeah, greatest player in FBL history, possibly, if you go by just one season, because he's having a good one. But yeah, no, I was in the same position as you. I had a good sub. Ashley Barnes actually didn't do much, but I was quite happy for him to come in, so I didn't need to get rid of him. He's fit now. I can't see any reason why he's not going to get minutes against Bournemouth, so I want him for that. Game week 34. The ones I'm worried about are game week 35 and 36, because that's around the semi-finals of the Champions League. I think he's either going to get very, very reduced minutes or not play at least one of them. So I think it's difficult because the free hit, there's not a lot of choice really. So there's a big decision there for owners. If you get rid of him, game week 35, I think the City ones look good to get in, but which ones are going to start? Well, arguably he could be playing his best side. Then even if the league's wrapped up, you never know. But I think I want him in game week 38. So the time I'm thinking, if I did get rid of Salah, it would be around game week 36 and 37. I'm not sure he's going to get many minutes, 36. I think that's a perfect opportunity to get, say, Eriksen in, and get Eriksen in for 36 and that double game week 37. I think.
Why not just done it last week then? Then you would have had 3 extra games.
Well, because it would have then involved, because I wanted to get Kane in as well. So then that would have been a hit. So if I'd have done what you did, for example, and got Ali in and I got my 6 points and then taken a hit, I would have got the same as Ashley Barnes, 2 points, except I get to go into game week 34, not hiding behind the sofa because I've got Salah. So
if you've got Eriksen in, then you'd be 12.
Well, could be. But the thing is lots of people have pointed out with Spurs midfielders, you basically got to just get one in and keep them. because every week one of them's going to score big, and then they're going to blank the next week. So we've had Son over the last 4 or 5 games. We had Son scoring big, then Ali scoring big, and Eriksen scoring big. Kane before that was scoring big. I don't know who it's going to be. I like Eriksen. I think if I've got the money, I'm going to get him in. I think he's the best option because he's got that point spread that of getting bonus as well as assists. But I don't know. I mean, I just didn't see a comfortable reason for getting rid of him, really, especially if he's fit and ready to play Bournemouth, who are one of the worst defences in the league.
There was a small part of me as well that was worried that City were going to turn it around. If they'd done that, then suddenly everyone would want Salah.
I was terrified.
Yeah, I know it was 3-0, but you've seen what's happened to Liverpool before. So obviously it doesn't matter now, but that was one thing that I had in mind last week.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Me too. I think as well. I mean, hand on heart, I would have gone Ali. No way would I have gone Eriksen. I did think about it. But I also looked at it and thought, well, if Ali for 2 fixtures, if we discount Stoke, because in the end I went Son to cover Spurs anyway. For me, it means I would have to take an extra hit if I wanted to. If I got Salah out last week, and I would have had money in the bank. I just didn't like it. And also I looked at it and thought, do I want Salah for Bournemouth or Ali for Man City and Brighton? And actually, I think it's a lot closer than you think. There, I think that Salah is quite capable of getting a brace against Bournemouth. And would Ali get a total of 16 points between City and Brighton away? He might do. But like Jonty says, they've got this habit of striking and then blanking. So I don't see Ali chaining big scores together, which would I think is what he's going to need to do to outperform Salah, and when you put in a hit as well. I just don't have confidence in Ali and Eriksen and get to chain 2 big scores together. So we'll see.
To me, it was just about the fact you can even play it safe, stick with Salah. You're probably going to. Everyone's got him. You're keeping that line very consistent. Or I just thought that's not really how I like to play the game. And I want to go for it. If I see a potential to take a risk and then to get in someone who I think is going to outscore someone. And I think actually with the highly owned players, it's the biggest risk and the biggest reward, because if you nail it, if Ali does outscore Salah by 30, 40 points from now until the end of the season, then that's the difference between me finishing in the top 1,000 and me finishing outside of that. So everyone's different. Everyone's teams are different.
Yeah,
subs, different transfers. There is no right or wrong answer. Should I sell Salah or shouldn't I? It depends on how you play the game and the players you've got in your team. Just for me, it just seemed like I just could not do it.
I think for me as well, I think Mkhitaryan's injury saved me from having to make the decision, because once he got injured and I saw him going down in price, I had to get rid. And that meant that I was distracted from the Salah situation. I had to give that more time, plus Austin was there for sub. So I think I was okay. I didn't have to deliberate it too much. I think if I was in Matt's situation where the wild card was being played, or yourself and you had nothing else on and you knew Salah was out, then I think it would be a different matter. But for me, the decision was kind of made for me by Mkhitaryan's unfortunate injury, which is a shame, because I thought he was a decent punt. Didn't pay off for me, but that's fine. We'll see. We'll see if that works in my favour and Salah comes in. Okay, let's move on to the next community question, John T. We're talking about rotation fears, aren't we?
Well, I mean, this links into what we've been talking about, really. So it's the FA Cup, really, and the Champions League. So we're looking really at. We've already spoken a lot about Salah, but Chilpill asks, if Liverpool progress tonight, they have progressed, do their assets become major risks when you consider they're 10 points clear, 5th, and can now focus solely on the semi-finals? Obviously, Klopp has form for this, and he mentions, as I mentioned earlier as well, that disastrous Europa final rotation policy, which they ended up with absolutely nothing. Harvinho is taking out Salah for the double suicide, or not that bad. And Mark Harbrow, how worried should non-Salah owners be this weekend? He's talking about that Bournemouth defence there. I mean, I think we've spoken a lot about Salah already, but I think it's looking at the FA Cup sides as well. So FPL Addict, there's how much rotation from the FA Cup teams are we getting as well. So if it wants to add anything more about Salah and Liverpool rotation, but otherwise, I think we should focus really on these FA Cup sides. And will there be rotation there amongst the ranks of Chelsea, Manchester United, Spurs, and to a lesser extent Southampton? Because to be honest, we don't really care about them.
Yeah, I mean, coming to you first, Matt. I mean, how are you feeling of looking at those fixtures? For me, it's the Chelsea look the hotspot, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea on paper do have the best fixtures, but I think the FA Cup is such an important important competition for them now at this stage. Like Spurs and United, it's the only trophy they can win this season, and I think they're going to be putting all their eggs in that basket. So I've put a lot of money into. I picked up Alonso and Willian, and now all of a sudden there's kind of question marks over whether they're as nailed as I thought they were last week. I bought Christensen as well, and it looks as though he might be out of favour. Now, hopefully he can get back into the team, but at this stage, it's not looking great. So, Chelsea definitely have the fixtures in the league, but like we're discussing now, it's hard to know with the FA Cup what Conte is going to do.
I think you're okay. I've got a feeling it'd be Hazard if anyone's going to be protected from the Burnley game. But Turf Moor on a Thursday night, that's a tough draw. And Burnley are actually looking like they want to go for Europe, so it's not an easy game. And Chelsea's motivation at the moment, like you say, it's all about the FA Cup. So I think Hazard probably would be the one most at risk, which strangely I think protects Willian a little bit, because I think it's Pedro that will probably come in for Hazard. Giroud will probably come in for Morata. And then William will probably have to play, I think. I don't know. I guess it's to do with Conte's team for the Southampton game as well. We're presuming he's going to play a full-strength side. And it's going to be William, Hazard and Morata. But I guess it's hard to second-guess that. Alonso, I think you're all right there. I just think Emerson, is he ready to start? I guess Burnley wouldn't be a place I'd want to throw him in at and make a start of that game. But he's a decent player, but is he ready to play Turf Moor on a Thursday night? So I think you'll be all right with what you got there. Andy, what are you feeling about these fixtures and Chelsea in particular? Do you see some risk there?
Yes, but I always knew there was going to be a risk when I got Willian, that he was going to miss some minutes. I think it's very hard, apart from kind of players we've already spoken about. I think Lukaku and Kane, for example, I'd be quite shocked if they miss, maybe they get reduced minutes, but I'd be shocked if they don't start both games. Willian, yes, of course, he's a risk. I think anyone from that Chelsea side, apart from probably the keeper, Alonso and Azpilicueta, are probably the three. Maybe Kante, someone like that might play both. But yeah, that's a tough one to call. I think Southampton, I guess most of us don't have Southampton players, but apart from Cedric. But I don't know if they're going to rest or not, because obviously it'd be great to win the FA Cup, but they're also about to get relegated. So I don't know if they'll play a first team. I don't know. It's really tough to call. I think obviously some defend, like even Chris Smalling could be now the best Man United defender. He started both last games. He's obviously, it looks like Bailly's the one who got rested the last time. Smalling's played with Lindelof and done okay, so I don't know if I'd be bringing him in, but if I had him, I wouldn't be too worried. And like you said, I think I not got many worries about Alonso. But yeah, of course I have worries about William. But I think at this point, I'm not going to take him out because it could happen to any of them. We've got two.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Smalling will miss a game. I think at Bournemouth, like I say, I think we'll see Lindelof and Jones if he's fit, or Rojo in there. I wouldn't be surprised if Mourinho puts a strange team out of Bournemouth. So I don't have that much faith in Smalling playing. I agree, out of Bailly and Smalling, he's probably the most likely out of the two, but I don't see me getting 2 games out of him. That's again, it was like the Williams situation. We don't expect it perhaps, but I think for me, Son, the reason why I'm getting rid of Son is I just don't see him playing the Brighton game. I think he's going to start a City because he's so strong at Wembley, and the game is on Tuesday night and they've got Lamela. Why wouldn't he start Lamela in that game 4 days before the FA Cup semi-final, presuming that Son is first choice to start that? So I think he's a problem and well owned, of course. I think William might get away with it because of Hazard, but Alonso's okay. And I think United, anyone's guess. Apart from Lukaku, I do worry about what Mourinho's going to do there. I'd like to think he puts a full-strength side out, but I'm not convinced. What about you? What are you looking at?
Yeah, Hazard, we spoke last year about this stage of the season about Hazard being the ultimate troll and the ultimate disappointment of the season. And I think the fact that no one's considering, getting him in for I think Burnley, Burnley should be a good game. Southampton should be a good game. It just happens to be Chelsea's form that's really let them down. But Hazard really should be a player who's like top of our list when we think about players who we want for this double game week. And he's just not even, he's not even being considered, because I think he's a massive rotation risk. I think, like you said earlier, he's playing quite deep and he just looks frustrated. And yeah, he wouldn't be a player that I'm looking to get. And I think alarm bells just ring with Chelsea. Like there's just too much uncertainty at the centre backs. Like you just can't decide on three centre backs. Sometimes it's Rudiger, sometimes it's Cahill, sometimes it's Christensen. So that kind of unsettles the defence as well. And it's not, they haven't kept a clean sheet in 5 weeks, and that was against West Brom, I think, when they kept that one. So I'm not thinking they're going to get clean sheets in these 2 games. I think Southampton are going to go for it, and Burnley are looking for Europe. So what should be 2 easy games is actually a bit more challenging. Alonso hasn't had any attacking returns in 8 weeks. He always looks the part, and I think he had a goal offside in the week, and the week before that he was putting in shots. And oh no, it was a save, wasn't it? It was a great save that Hart made from him. I think this week for West Ham. So I'm actually looking at selling Alonso this week because I don't want to. It hurts. Like he should be up on my wall as one of my favourite ever FPL players, but I'm looking at ways to get Kane in, and he just seems to be the standout player to get rid of. And if I go into double game with no Chelsea, then I'm not actually that worried, which is quite a strange situation. I didn't think that a few weeks ago.
Well, Jonty, we've got some questions on this, and FBL Hackney brings up the Alonso.
Yeah.
Particular, doesn't he?
Yeah, so he asked what to do with our Chelsea assets, especially Alonso. It's a large chunk of our funds all wrapped up in a defender who's doing nothing. Awesomeo kindly has pointed out that 8 game weeks before I bought Alonso in, he scored 67 points. And in the 8 game weeks I've had him, he scored a total of 9 points.
Blanked every week.
So quite rightly, he's saying I've cursed him, and he's urging me to now sell him. So
wow, I hadn't realised that. That is outrageous.
If I sell him, I'll let everyone know, and then you can just put the captaincy on him. Mike Harborough again, after this week, should our Chelsea players be the ones that make way for the double game week targets of game week 37? So he's following on, really, saying give them a go, double game week 34. They're not playing 35. Let's just ditch them. Form and motivation seems to be on the floor at the moment. I must admit, we've talked a bit about the stats of the likes of Willian, but the fact is they're not going in, really. And the players who are at the top of the game, who are sharp, who have got that extra motivation, do put the ball in the back of the net, and they're not quite doing that at the moment. So perhaps he has got a point there.
No, absolutely. I think if Willian was more money, I think we'd be getting rid. 7 million, he can just about get away with it because he's showing good promise. Alonso, I know he's 7 million as well, but he's a defender. I'm looking at my situation with Kane and going, I've got 2 options. I can sell some to Lingard. Yeah, really has Lingard. Or I can go Alonso to maybe a third Burnley defender, bear with me, or Cedric and a full Kane. And has Alonso done enough to justify placing my team? Not really. But I'm a big fan of his. And I do think, as he's right, the chopping and changing defence means no clean sheets. So I'm relying on Alonso's attacking their turns. But of course, Jonty's put the kibosh on that by getting him in. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. I really do. I do worry about Chelsea going forward. But I think Willian is cheap enough to hold, and Alonso, has he done just enough? Matt, what's your feelings on Alonso? I'm a big fan, as is as well. Are you an advocate of keeping him and having him in your team?
Yeah, for me, there's a bit of a history with Alonso. Last season, I took him out for a -4 just before he decided to get a 21 point haul. So
don't say that.
I think So I think out of fear of remembering that, I think I'll keep him.
Yeah, that's done it for me. That's made my mind up. Think for money. It is some that goes. Because the thing is, if I sell him now, that's just going to get played back to me.
That's Swansea that you got that.
I think it was
Leicester.
Was it Leicester?
Oh, that's right, Leicester. Yeah.
So it wasn't a good memory.
Yeah, no, it's fine. I think Chelsea are. I think after this double game at 34, we're all going to be looking at Chelsea very carefully about whether we take them into 37. And they are players that are likely to be under threat. But I think I'm right in saying, Jonty, they've got 2 home games in 37, haven't they?
They have, yeah. And I think what it is that form, though, it's that motivation. So if they're, that's the thing. We've got eyes, we're watching the games, and we're watching players that are not quite doing it for us. And when you've got, now Spurs have arguably the best double game week 37. So if you've got Kane, and you've already got another midfielder, there's a definite case for getting rid of Willian and getting in someone like Ali, Ericsson, or Son even. And perhaps Alonso as well, being out and getting in perhaps Vertonghen or someone like that, just a Spurs defender. Another player I like as well, Valencia. at Manchester. It's one of the kind of wholly nailed on ones as well. I think it was last year. Remember, Valencia ended up being the top scorer in one of the double game weeks.
Yeah.
Because if you combine those clean sheets and if he gets one of his rare attacking returns, suddenly he's a great player to have. So these are the kind of players I'm looking at. Because I didn't actually plan to get Kane in quite so soon because we all thought he was going to be injured. But that Kane move, because it's done there now, I've kind of game week 36, 7, I've kind of got some spare moves to make. And these are the kinds of things I think me and I guess other people as well are thinking about with their Chelsea players. Looking at Spurs fixtures, I think they look better.
Yeah, and then we're looking at Man City as well. If there's a clear starter for for the 2 matches in game week 37, we're going to have to look at Man City. And that's when big hitters have got to make way, and Chelsea assets like Alonso are going to be under threat. Well, one more question before we move to the weekend preview. Let's look at the bench boost issues, because this is an interesting one, isn't it, Jonty?
Yeah, so I put up a hot topic on this on site today about bench boost issues, because a lot of people think, and I think people are slowly coming around to the realization about what it is. And you're not going to get 50 extra points, all these players. Your bench boost is that really. It's just getting those points from your cheapy players, really. So if you spread the love around your team, you could have a really good bench and boost there, but that's going to harm the rest of your team. So Harshdeep Singh asks, is the bench boost worth it in game week 34 when the key players are likely to be from Brighton, Burnley, and a lesser extent Southampton? Berry 94, other than Burnley and Brighton, are there any cheap defenders from other teams worth considering for those bench boosting a double game week? And then Dazzler is amongst those, just like Matt, who perhaps looking for a Stevens replacement. And of course we have Cedric there knocking around. But yeah, so lots of people, they basically want to know who are the cheap players and what do we realistically expect from our bench boost.
Oh, well, coming to you first, Matt. I mean, what are you feeling about yours? Obviously, you've wildcarded with this in mind, but what are you expecting from it? What's your experience with the bench boost last season?
Yeah, I actually can't really remember much from last season about bench boost and stuff, how many points. But as far as I can remember, I didn't get a massive amount of points. I don't think I got any clean sheets or anything like that. But yeah, this season, making the wild card, I could have looked towards game week 34 and maybe got some Burnley players in. I mean, the fixtures aren't super. They're a home to Leicester and a home to Chelsea, but they probably have their eyes, even though it may be a bit unrealistic, they could potentially get a sixth place finish this year. It's a bit of an incentive maybe to put in Burnley players. But I think the decision to keep my bench boost for 37 is down simply to the fact that I haven't got triple captain.
Right.
I would have used triple captain on Kane in 37, and I probably would have bench boost in 34. But given the lack of triple captain, I've kind of invested in Swansea players. I kind of like the look of their double game week in 37. So it's all about hoping that they don't rotate, that they're not too safe by then, and yeah, see how they get on.
So that's your strategy. You're going to go bench boost in 37.
Yeah,
and it is. I think the triple captain on Kane is the factor. I think you're actually very honest in saying that, because that's the only reason why I think. Well, I think 34 is easier to predict lineups, perhaps, but it's that triple captaincy on Kane because we know he's going to play, and we know we'll resume the golden boot's still going to be on. Andy, you were looking at this. I saw a tweet from you about your potential bench for game week 34, and you were kind of scoffing at the idea of what you're going to get. Are you still feeling that way, or are you a little bit more optimistic?
I've got Brighton's goalkeeper, potentially Loughton, Tarkowski, and some other rubbish player. I couldn't be any less excited about the bench boost, to be honest. It's the worst. I think it's the worst chip out of the three. I mean, to be fair, it's better than probably all that attack was. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. They both seem pretty rubbish. The only saving grace of game week 37 I can see is that Swansea maybe still got stuff to play for. I'd really like Jordan Ayew. I think he's potentially a better option than Barnes is in 34, which is what a lot of us got. Yeah, I'm not expecting too many points. I mean, we always say like 16 is probably the bare minimum because that's 2 points in each game. So 20 to 25, I wouldn't be expecting anywhere more than 25. If I got 25, I'd be super happy with that. So I suppose 20 probably. I have looked at potentially bench boosting 37 because I'm already holding Mustafi, and I have 3 other defenders that would double game week in 37. So I could switch over to it, get someone like Kennedy in maybe for Newcastle, but it just means having to use the triple captain this week. And if I'm already worried about Kane's Man City fixture and I'm getting Lukaku, but not super convinced he's going to do amazing. And then I've got to save the triple captain for 37 when I think there's better options. And as we've all seen, like I said earlier, Kane's going to be chasing that golden boot to the end. So even if there's nothing to play for, he's still playing for something. So plus there's the World Cup and stuff to come. So yeah, I'm sticking to bench boost 34. Not really excited about it at all, and not expecting anything.
I think as well, Kane's going to be up against a relegated West Brom and a safe Newcastle, and that for me is really strong. And we saw what he did in 37 before, so we can't question Spurs' motivation because they found it in game week 37 last season with big style. As your thoughts on the bench boost, I mean, what's your likely bench going to look like? Is it going to be as absolutely hideous as Andy's?
It's actually more hideous than Andy's, because I'll probably end up keeping Andy King. I mean, I think the question was a little bit harsh. It's, saying, we're going to end up with Burnley, Brighton, and Southampton. Well, of course you are. Like, you've got to have some cheap players in there somewhere, and they're going to be the ones that you bench. And actually, Burnley and Southampton players aren't the worst players to have, because they are still fighting on some fronts for things. And that is what worries me about if I was in Matt's position, I was going to be playing in 37. Is you just don't know how much these teams are going to be fighting. If Southampton are already relegated and Arsenal have won all their games and Burnley can't finish in sixth, then suddenly I think it's actually less appealing than playing it this week. I haven't got my triple captaincy either. I'm very worried about Kane in 37 because he'll definitely be my captain as well. It's just one of those chips that's really hard to. The triple captain is as well, but I think the bench boost in particular is really, really hard to predict, because your best bench score probably won't come this week. It will probably have come 10 weeks ago when you didn't even think your bench looked that good, and then suddenly you got the score. I think last week I played it a double game week and I got about 12 points or something, which you save it all season just for this week, and then it's quite depressing. But I just don't think it's going to deliver. It's going to deliver that much. But I'd be happy with between 16 and 20 points for it. It's just the people that play in single game weeks at the start of the season and get 30 points, and you think, that was really well done, and we're all committing to this either this week or 37, so it does limit our options quite a lot.
I think playing it in double game, it's that assured 16 points. We'll start at that. I'll take that. That's good enough. Jonty, 16 points seems fine to me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I expect. I expect 16 points. I'm going in there with Matt Ryan, Lewis Cook of Bournemouth, he of the defensive midfield, Loughton and Cedric. And now the Rate My Team computer on Fantasy Football Scout is saying I'm going to get 20 points for that. I'll be delighted if I can get 20 points for that. But I think that's it. I think that's the basics of it. If you get 16, great. Anything more is brilliant. Anything less than 16, you're going to be disappointed, really, because that means they probably haven't played or they've conceded a hell of a lot, really. But yeah, the holy grail. I think over the season, I don't think I've got more than about 17, 18 to 16 or so on my bench. So I think that's it, really. I think the key question about bench boosting this week in game week 37, it really comes down to Swansea v Burnley, Brighton and Southampton, because Swansea are the standout cheapies for game week 37. I like a lot of them. I think they've got good options across all the positions there as well. So I think if you're bench boosting game week 37, I think you're going to do well. I also think this week as well, I mean, the likes of, say, Ashley Barnes, say if you've got a stronger midfield, you might be benching Barnes, or someone like Murray might be on your bench. I think these can all get a good goal there. And the Burnley defence as well, they chip in with assists as well. And we got Cedric, and you got Austin as well. So I think there's definite potential there to get more than the magic 16. But that's what you should be expecting.
I think Austin could be a great buy for me in the end, because I think it looks like he's going to get both games because they're desperate. And I think Chelsea could play a part in this, because I think Chelsea could concede to Southampton. And also, the Thursday game at Turf Moor, I think Chelsea just want to get that out of the way so they can think about semi-final. That could be 0-0.
Oh, 0-0. And then my Alonso ownership is redeemed.
Imagine that.
Imagine getting points from Alonso. I haven't seen that since last season.
I know, exactly. But then the Burnley clean sheets come in. I don't think that Chelsea are going to necessarily turn Burnley over. Burnley have been poor at home recently. They've been good away from home defensively, but I just think that game is such a dead rubber for Chelsea. It depends how many players Burnley commit forward. They don't normally commit forward. So I think if they're both going into that game thinking we'll take a draw, which I think Burnley probably would, then that could be a 0-0 on a wet Thursday evening, definitely. Andy, sorry, you were going to go in there.
Yeah, I think the only reason I'm down on the bench is because last season we had, I think we got to like Yoshida and Stevens,
Yeah.
They weren't playing any of my attackers, I don't think. Whereas this season, yeah, okay, I've got Burnley, but if they get clean sheets, that means Vardy and Mahrez haven't scored, or Willian hasn't done anything again. So I think that's why I'm a bit more down on it. Whereas Cedric and Stevens, they had goal threat bonus last year, and they did well. I think we got more than 20 points for them. But yeah, you're right. I think 2 home games, yes, they may have been poor, but generally Burnley don't concede a lot of goals. So there is a chance for a clean sheet there, I think.
Yeah, 7 goals in the last 8 games. So actually, it's not bad at all. And so I think it's not out of the realms of possibility for a clean sheet out of one of those 2 games. And if they get a clean sheet, Tarkowski, Ward, me, and Loughton could all be in the bonus, couldn't they? Could all get bonus points as well. So could be happy days. But I admit, Swansea looked good for 37. And IU for Austin is something I would probably look at if I've got a transfer knocking about then. Okay, let's do the weekend preview, Jonty. We'll start with yourself. Let's let you take the first sheet. Go ahead.
A clean sheet. So are we going to do it so as in who's going to get clean sheets across the games or just one particular game?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's pick defences rather than clean sheets. Let's pick defences. Presumably we're going to go for double game week defences. You can pick a single game week defence if you like. So pick a defence then. Go on.
Right, well, I'm going to go for Manchester United because they're playing West Brom at home. They're awful. And they're playing Bournemouth, who possibly might score, but I don't think they're going to score much. So I think those that have got your likes of De Gea, Valencia, etc., Smalling, if he plays twice, I think you can do really well.
Yeah, no, I think United are the standout. And we'll go to you next, Matt. As you're the guest, we'll give you the option of getting in there quick before all the best clean sheets go. So which defence are you backing?
The best one's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, the best one's definitely gone. I think I'll go with Chelsea. I think I'll put my faith in Alonso. I'll go with Chelsea.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, Andy, over to you.
I don't like this going for double game week business and letting Johnny go first.
No, sorry, it's bad, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a poor shout.
Not how we did it last time either.
And now Chelsea gone as well. I'm going to back a double game week team then, I guess. I don't even think they're going to get any points, but I'll go for Leicester. Just because they're playing.
It's a good one.
Yeah, I think if they get, they're playing Burnley and Southampton. That's not that bad, I suppose. But recently, Leicester clean sheets just not looking likely. But yeah, Leicester for me.
As I'll go last, I'll take it on the chin. But go on.
I'll tell you who I won't be going for, and that's Bournemouth. I mean, they've got an absolutely horrendous double game week, haven't they?
Especially against Salah. What are they going to do there?
No, nothing. Well, they win that 1-0, so I suppose it's maybe too bad. Oh yeah, horrible. Was it Liverpool United? Oh, both away. No, they're at home for.
Yeah, home for United.
Yeah, still it's pretty rough. I'll take Swansea at home to Everton. I'll just go for the single fixture game. Jonty can go on to the cows come home about how poor Everton are, but they just don't look like they've got anything about them. And I think Swansea look really fired up to stay in the league. So I'll pick that.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice because when I was looking at Alonso downgrade, I was thinking maybe I can go Fernandes early. De Horn, of course, is injured now, but yeah, I think Swansea are a good shout. I'm going to go Burnley. I do think that they're going to get at least one clean sheet. I look at Leicester going to Turf Moor. I look at Chelsea going to Turf Moor. And at the moment, Leicester haven't looked very impressive. I'm a bit worried about having Mahrez and Vardy. I think they're probably a little bit fool's gold now. A couple of weeks ago, they looked absolutely essential for the double game week. A couple of games on, I haven't been impressed. And Vardy has been fortunate to get the goals. Mahrez hasn't been as effective. So I wonder whether Leicester are going to score there necessarily. Because Burnley will sit back. It's not like Burnley throw men forward and be prone to counter. So I think that could be edgy. And I don't think Chelsea are bothered about that game. I think they just want to get it out of the way. So I think there's at least one clean sheet for Burnley, which would be massively big news for us bench boosters. But we'll see. We'll see. That's what I'll go with. Okay, we'll go for Fancy Island Risk. And I haven't really thought about this, so I'm going to put myself last. We'll go to Matt next. Matt, Fancy Island Risk. Do you know how this works? Basically, we all pick blindingly ridiculous players that have got no chance of scoring points. But then one of us picks someone really obvious and Green Wimwell sends us a sweary email the next day. But that's basically the theory of Fancy Island Risk. Do you want to pick a player out?
Yeah. I mean, if it was going for a single week player, I'd love to go something completely bonkers, like something like Walcott. But I don't think Jonty would be too impressed.
Don't start him off on that again.
No, if I was to take a serious pick, maybe Ryan Bertrand. Occasionally on set pieces, an okay double game week maybe. I mean, Chelsea at home, we're all kind of wondering how that's going to turn out, and then away to Leicester. So, it's kind of got that bit of flair to it. So I'll go with Ryan Bertrand.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, we're going to you next, Andy.
Yeah, I think like we've already talked about rotation for Chelsea, so I'm going to go for Giroud. Going to get one match hopefully, plus some minutes in the other one.
Absolutely, Az. What are you thinking?
I really struggled this week to pick a player. It's like there just doesn't seem that much. I think you mentioned yours, Mark. I think probably is the best option. What's happening with Goodmanson these days?
Yeah, he's got an injury at the moment, and so I think he may well come back. But I mean, Dyche seems to be a bit vague with his injuries sometimes, so we wouldn't bank on it.
No, that doesn't fill me with confidence. Oh, I'll go for him. He might. Yeah. I think Burnley probably have the highest likelihood of a differential there somewhere. I think Chris Wood could be quite good if people are going for him. But no, I'll stick to Goodmanson. And I mean, he is a player who I could potentially bring in if I don't go for Kane, because I've got enough to do King to Goodmanson. So I do like him, and he's on all the set pieces and tends to do quite well if he's fit. So
yeah, absolutely. John T, where are you going?
Well, I've gone for, as you said, a ridiculous pick. I've gone for the worst defence with the toughest fixtures, so Bournemouth defender. But I just think he might get a goal. I just got a feeling it's going to be Steve Cook's.
Yeah, he's been good. He's
been really attacking recently. Yeah. He's had an assist in the last 4. He's had 5 goal attempts last 4 as well. That's pretty good. And his baseline bonus is pretty good as well. So he's picking up one of them every 5.5 minutes. And actually, all his shots as well have been in the box as well for the last 4 game weeks. Yeah. So he's the underlying stats guy. I'm not anticipating a clean sheet there, but I am anticipating some a goal and perhaps a bonus or 2.
Okay, well, you mentioned Chris Wood. I think he's a good one. I was almost going to go for Jesse Lingard because he's coming into my team, but I'm not allowed to. I was only saying that to wind Az up, really, but he is coming into my team. I'm going to go Rashford. I think Rashford has been kept back with these 2 games in mind. He's not going to play. I don't think he plays in the semi-final. I think he's definitely going to play at Bournemouth, and I think he might well start against West Brom as well, because that's a game that surely they're going to get goals in. And I wouldn't be surprised. This is the kind of thing that he does, Rashford. He crops up every now and then, makes us think that he's a good option, and then disappears again. And I wouldn't be surprised if game week 34 was another occasion for him. So
that's what you were saying. Lamella. Didn't you say Lamella in the?
Yeah, Lamella's a good one. No, I didn't nominate Lamella. No, I didn't go early. There was no Bagsy and Lamella. Definitely not. He's another one though. I think the way rotation works, we can look at a player who's going to get maybe 1 game, 1.5 games. And I think Rashford's in that ilk as well. I just think with the fixtures, United should get, 4 goals over the 2 games, I would say. It depends. Much depends in terms of Lukaku's potential, Sanchez's potential, Lingard and so on whether Mourinho lets the handbrake stay off or he just goes, right, it's 2-0, let's start. But McTominay's coming on. And will he let them go for 4 or 5 goals like he did at the start of the season? That fooled us into thinking United are going to be a massive attacking force this season, and he regressed to type. And I hope, for people who captain Lukaku's sake, that he does play with the handbrake off over these 2 games. But I do wonder. Don't trust him. Let's do our transfers and captains. I'll go first. Mine's pretty easy. It's going to be Kane captain because he's coming in, and I'm not going to have Lukaku. My transfers probably will be Son to Lingard and Aubameyang to Kane. I'm going to keep Alonso. And I may well do them tonight because, to be honest, I can't be bothered to keep worrying about price rises, and I've got the exact money on that, so I'm probably going to do it and commit to it and hope there was no nasty team news coming my way on Friday. Matt, what are you up to? Wildcard already played. Are you spending your transfer? I guess you are.
Yeah, Aubameyang to Lukaku, and I'll captain him.
Okay,
straight and simple. Yeah.
Lukaku is going to be your captain, fine. Where do you see? I've got to ask you: are you looking at managers around you at the moment and plotting what they're doing, or are you just being cool on that at the moment?
I think when I was up closer to the top 10, I was doing it a lot more. Since I've kind of taken a few red arrows over the last few weeks, I'm kind of just trying to see out the rest of the season now with the highest finish I can possibly get. I think at the minute now it's more about mini leagues and cash leagues and things like that.
No, I think you're being a bit harsh on it. So I think there's still a chance. Obviously, by appearing on the Scoutcast, you have doomed your chances to complete failure. But so I'm glad you realise that. In a way, it's convenient that you've kind of written off your chances before you came on, because then we feel a bit more. Don't feel so bad about it. Andy, what are you doing? Transfers and captain?
Yeah, right now I'm looking at Gross and Aubameyang to Lingard and Lukaku. I just want to triple up on my United, to be honest. That'll leave me with Mustafi, though, which I'm not sure I like. Even though he's got a double game week in 37, I may switch him for a hit to Burnley defender, but that just doesn't sound right when I say it out I'd say what may sway me towards Kane, because I'll be able to do it in a 4, is some more prognosis, I suppose, on Ben Mee, because if he's out, that makes Long an option. I can do Mustafi and Aubameyang to Long and Kane for free, so that may sway me. But I don't really want to captain Kane, and if I bring him in, I'm left without a captain that I really want to make. So I'm probably going to stick to Lukaku, I think, and captain him.
Okay, as where are you going? Lingard's coming in, obviously. What else are you doing?
Well, you joke, but I did say last week I was considering it, and I think you all changed your tune a bit on Son, because last week I said he was quite dispensable, and you all kind of shot me down in flames. So now people are thinking of selling him. It's quite interesting. I mean, I could do Son to Lingard and the Aubameyang to Kane like you, Mark. I'm a bit reluctant to sell Son now, which is kind of come full circle. I could just do King to Goodmanson, or I could do Alonso to Smalling or Bailly, and then do Aubameyang to Kane. I think I am going to do Aubameyang to Kane. I think it's that Watford game that I said earlier, which I really want Kane in for anyway. And I'll have Aubameyang back on the free hit in 35, and Newcastle away. I don't know. I can't see him going too mad in that game. So I think I am going to bring in Kane. It's just how do I fund it? So it'll either be Alonso or Son out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, a Son I want back because they've got 3 home games in 4, I think, to end on. But the Salah situation enables me to do that. I think I can make up my mind whether to go to Eriksen or Son or Ali.
And I've got Ali as well now.
Yeah, so you've got cover there. And I just don't. Of the 3 Spurs midfielders, Son is the one who's least likely to play the Brighton game. He might well play it. But you kind of think that Lamella's going to get a chance somewhere, and it makes sense. It's Brighton, I guess. Okay, what are you doing then, Jonty? What are you up to?
Well, I already made my move. I did a rare, very
you've done early.
Because I had the exact money, and Kane was looking like he was going up, and indeed he did go up. So I got rid of Gross and Aubameyang. I got Gross in for these 2 fixtures that he failed in. I didn't really get him in for the double. He was always going to be a mate weight. And I've got Lewis Cook in, who I think will get me 4 points on my bench boost. And I got Kane in. So there's no hit there as well. So I saved the transfer. So a lot of people are taking, it sounds like some of you
I've got to take
hits.
a hit.
I think there's going to be some -8s floating around. So I'm already -4, 8 points ahead, hopefully. There. So, the captaincy is going. I mean, I don't know. There's merit in both Kane and Lukaku, and there's issues with both of them as well. At the moment, I think it's on Lukaku, but it could change. I think both of them, I wouldn't say essential. I think they're both very, very important players to have, because they're going to be the most captained, and they're going to be the ones that if one of them does explode and you don't at least own them, there's going to be real problems there, unless, of course, you may be covered with a Sanchez captaincy. But I think going into this game, I definitely want Kane and Lukaku. I just think in terms of consolidating a rank, it's vital.
Yeah, I'd like to. I think Lukaku's going to be the one I go without, and I'm okay with that because I'm hoping that he sticks to form and doesn't get big scores. But I've got Jesse to cover. It's all fine. It's absolutely fine. Oh dear. Okay. Thanks very much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure to have you on, Matt, as our guest. And I do hope that for once the Scoutcast has the reverse effect on people that come on the show, because in the past we have cursed a few leading managers, but you never know. As you came into this on a red arrow, it might get flipped for you. And now you're going to have the surge to the FBL crown.
How many points you got first, Matt? Do you know?
I haven't looked. I'd say it's about 70, maybe 80 now at this stage.
Oh, that's quite a lot in there, even.
Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, it's extraordinary, actually, because I looked at the number 1 in the world, and he's got Tulloch, a West Brom reserve striker, on his bench for 4.5. Now, that makes sense, but not when you've got Ashley Barnes as his second striker as well. So he has gone really big in midfield. Now, I don't know whether he's reconfiguring his team. So that is really interesting what he's doing there, because he's obviously going to have one big hitter, I think. I don't think he can afford to do Barnes to Lukaku. So I think he's going to have Kane, Barnes and Tulloch going into the double game week. So that, to go with one heavy hitter, but also Barnes as his second striker, will be interesting, unless he's taking hits and he's got a lot more money up his sleeve than I thought. I think he's got a couple of million in the bank, but not enough to get Lukaku and Kane, I don't think. So I don't know. He's 30 points ahead, though. That's a big lead going into this stage. But we've seen it before. Double game weeks, the free hit, the chips coming, the triple captain. There's so much going to change. And I don't know. I think a couple of good game weeks you can get back in it. I wouldn't write it off yet, Matt, and I do hope that you do have a turnaround and wish you the best of luck. And we may well see you again on the Scoutcast before the end of the season. Andy, as John T, it's been a pleasure as always. We're going into game week 34, John T, and it's going to be a big one. We love these double game weeks. So this is what we play FBL for, isn't it, really? Andy loves them as well. I know.
There's so much anticipation, isn't it? And you look at, I mean, I'm looking at my team now. I've got 14 double game weekers with Salah, who's the kid who's doing his own thing right in the middle there, just as a single game weeker. And it looks great, but we've been here before. It can be disappointing. And it's all about that captaincy. And I think that's it, really. And there'll be a player that will just really surprise. I remember Esu Akotu being the top scorer one memorable double game week. So there's going to be a real surprise there, and there's going to be a Clint Dempsey there that none of us have picked.
Yeah, it was Lee Grant and Eric Peters, wasn't it? Last time I remember that was last season. They
Eric Peters, yes, it was. It was Stoke, yes, Stoke surprised
like 15 points, I think, over the two games.
So it could be a Southampton player this time.
Who is it going to be? Who is that player going to be? We shall see. We're hoping for big bench boost scores. We're hoping for triple digits. We'll see you next week, and we'll pick the bones out of it then. It's a good night from me.
Good night from me.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, all.